moving on with more superhero news. There's a recent MCU book that was released, Ricky Flex. It's titled MCU: The Reign of Marvel. It's written by Joanna Robinson, Dave Gonzalez, and Gavin Edwards. But I want to talk about some quotes that have been surfacing from the book from conversations with Kevin Feige. I just want to get a couple of your thoughts here, Ricky Flex. So Feige has said that, quote, even after 32 movies in the MCU, it feels like we've barely scratched the surface, end quote. So despite this fatigue that we're talking about, despite the lackluster display from the box office and the critical prowess of these movies, the overhaul, revamp of the MCU series, Kevin Feige says there is still plenty to come with the MCU. Let's just start off there because I got two other juicy quotes here. Impressions after hearing that.
It sounds crazy to say, and it's kind of honestly not the quote that you want circling around right now if you're Marvel or any just superhero content provider, DC, looking at you. But is he wrong? Like, I think he's right at the end of the day. I think there's a lot out there that you can still conquer. It's just that I've already conquered so much, and you already have so many issues with superhero fatigue, specifically MCU fatigue. That's not the quote you want circling right now, because that's not what people are asking for, or not. People aren't asking for quantity. People are asking for quality. So yes, this book was probably made over the past few years, so he probably said this years ago. So I don't blame him, but it's just a tough sequence of events for him, or tough timing.
It is tough timing because he is acknowledged. I mean, I think all the quotes are from the same book where he says like Disney Plus series are not working. It's just like he realizes that there is fixing to do with this universe, but there's no reason it should end. Right? It's just like, oh, they hit a speed bump. It's like the first real speed bump they've had in their, I don't know what, 15-year history of the MCU, the most significant speed bump that they've had thus far. There is plenty of stories to tell, but it's going to require them to bring back characters. That's the way I look at it. And there's news that potentially they've scrapped. It's a rumor they've scrapped the Wonder Man series. So it's like, how many of these new characters do you think are viable, can be centerpieces of the MCU? Because when you have the characters of Captain America and Iron Man leaving, it seems like the MCU has had a really difficult time finding a hero to look towards, a centerpiece that could hold this and anchor this universe down. And there's another quote that actually talks about this, Ricky Flex. After Avengers Endgame and the departure of some of the original Avengers, Kevin Feige had intended that Brie Larson, Tom Holland, and Chadwick Boseman were going to be the centerpieces for the future of the MCU. Obviously, Chadwick Boseman tragically passed. Kevin Feige was not aware of the whole situation with his health. Tom Holland is interesting as a choice to lead the MCU. Yes, it's a young, exciting star. Yes, it's the biggest character that Marvel has as a superhero, but he's not owned by Disney itself. He is on loan from Sony, so it sounds sketchy in the first place. And then Brie Larson, I think they intended that she was going to be a centerpiece after $1 billion movie like Captain Marvel, but I think they soon realized the reason that movie was so profitable is because of its release time between Infinity War and Endgame, right? The prospects of Brie Larson, an Oscar winner, taking on this role. Little did they know what the response was going to be. I wonder if how these sentiments will change further upon the release of the Marvels due out in a few weeks. But Ricky Flex, what do you think about that? Like having those three as the centerpieces for the universe, was that ever feasible?
No, it wasn't. The Brie Larson was never feasible for what you just mentioned. That was never going to work. It's crazy to say that because you thought it was such a great casting. After she wins an Oscar, and Captain Marvel, such a powerful character, Brie Larson's a powerful force in Hollywood at the time. It made sense one for one, and she just doesn't have it. The character is just not. Fans aren't loving the character as they should. It's just not working out. So that was never going to work. The Chadwick Boseman, I feel like, would have worked as one of these pieces because of just what Black Panther is and what it could, like, what he could have meant or what he means. But like going forward, he could have been like someone you could put on, like, you could put a lot on his back and let him just carry you, right? And I think that could have that character and Chadwick Boseman specifically could have done that. Tom Holland, I don't think was smart either. I think Spider-Man is smart to lead the MCU, but we already have had 3 Tom Holland movies. Yes, Tom Holland has said he can play Spider-Man until the end of time. But you know what? He's also said that he wants to do other things. And there's a reason why there's a big break. Not just because MCU needs it, but also because Tom Holland needs it and he wants to do a break and try all these other things. Like that freaking Apple TV Plus series that just came out that was
The
awful.
Crowded Room.
Thank you. So I don't know if Tom Holland's the one to lead the MCU, and frankly, he has not proven that he's a great actor yet. He's a great movie star. The Vinny Chase. Jeremy Piven. I told you I'd make you a star. I didn't tell you I'd make you a great actor. Tom Holland still hasn't proved that he's a great actor yet. So that's more 50-50 now. I think Spider-Man should lead the MCU, but is Tom Holland the one to do it? I think eventually I'm going to be on the side of yes, but I don't think it's a guarantee. So overall, you're right, but Marvel, I think, is just, I don't know, taking the fans for granted a little bit and the loyalty.
Spider-Man, looking at the roster now of Marvel heroes, Spider-Man is the only one that has the capabilities along with the actor to be the centerpiece of the MCU. Tom Holland, no matter what you think of him as an actor, he is awesome as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man. He understands the essence of that role. And almost like Chris Evans with Captain America, right? Where it's, yes, Chris Evans, he hasn't done much outside of Captain America, but he is an awesome Captain America, And I don't think anyone else can really do that where they might have one of the other, right? Where it's they're a great enough actor and can hold the star power. Like a Benedict Cumberbatch, I think could be a centerpiece, but Doctor Strange isn't that as a hero, right? To hold together the Avengers. That's not inherently who the character is. So he's not even an option, despite he could handle it because he's Benedict freaking Cumberbatch, Letitia Wright, right? Black Panther, a noteworthy character, one that has had success at the box office, but it's not Chadwick Boseman, and it's Letitia Wright. It's not Chadwick Boseman, right? The name doesn't carry. And you just don't have that, which makes me think, Ricky Flex, there's been rumors from this book, right? There's quotes from Kevin Feige said there probably will be a soft reboot from Secret Wars. And I would not be shocked if Chris Evans returns as Captain America to be the centerpiece.
I was thinking the same thing.
This is something where Chris Evans is finding a lack of success outside the MCU time and time again. He said he wants to take a break from acting, right? Well, guess what? Secret Wars is not coming out till what? 2026, 2027? These are your couple of years, buddy. You can sit on and let it breathe a little bit, but then come back and be the beloved Captain America again. Because you're missing the star power in the MCU. You're missing, right, that A-list hero status. I think it's almost inevitable that you get the return of some characters with Secret Wars. I think he is prime candidate number one. Thoughts?
If there's anyone that was going to come back, it would be him over RDJ.
RDJ is going to be 65, dude.
Well, Chris Evans. So Secret Wars comes out 2027 or 2028.
It's at least 2027.
Okay, so let's just say they announce in 2027 Chris Evans is coming back. All right, that's 4 years from now. Chris Evans will be 46 years old, playing Captain America. And can he do it? Yes. But they can't rely on soft reboots and bringing back actors that for the rest of eternity. If after 32 movies, it feels like we barely scratched the surface, I feel like you got to have to move on at some point. So if you're going to go back to Chris Evans, you must be at rock bottom, number one, or desperation mode, number one. And number two is that you got to really come up with a plan to kind of move past these characters, or maybe just not move past the characters like they tried to do here, but maybe reboot the character, right? Reboot the universe, not focus on the same MCU over not just 20, but 30 and 40 years like they want to do. Maybe, you know what? This was just an MCU phase that we had for, since 2008, and 2027, that comes to an end. And then you know what? We restart again. Same characters that you love, but new actors, and we just start again, and we'll tell a different story. We won't tell the Infinity Gauntlet. We'll tell something about, I don't know, maybe we'll focus on the X-Men or a Fantastic Four more, and then we'll focus on, I don't know, a different MCU big bad that will lead up to, or something like that. But we don't need 50 years all connected if you're going to have to rely on a few characters.
What's interesting is that like you might say, okay, Secret Wars could bring in the X-Men. It's obviously we're gonna have the Fantastic Four that will be established by the time Secret Wars comes out. But they're the leaders of their own entities. Like the Fantastic Four is a team, right? The X-Men are a team. You can't just have Logan at the center of the Avengers. That's not how he operates because he's a part of the X-Men. Like Mr. Fantastic is not going to be leading the Avengers because he's in the Fantastic Four, right? You need that character to be the centerpiece of the Avengers. And I mean, honestly, you need someone. You need someone, which makes me think Captain America is I would I would put out a strong probability for him returning. Um, any other thoughts on this, Ricky Flex? I mean, I think that there's going to be a heavy emphasis on those two teams that I just mentioned, but I guess you could have like a new Captain America that is you like you're saying rebooted, like from Secret Wars that gets introduced. I don't think Anthony Mackie has the star power to lead the Avengers. The character is powerful, okay, but it's not Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. That is it's obviously Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson doesn't carry the same weight as Steve Rogers as Captain America. You know, it's missing that ingredient, you know? So we'll see what happens. But any other final thoughts?
No, that's exactly what I was driving at here. You can't have, you know, B to C list guys like playing the same character or same hero as an A list guy. You just can't be doing that. You can be doing like someone on the rise. Like let's say you just rebooted the Captain America character, completely different Steve Rogers or whoever Bucky Barnes was for. Like, you know what I mean?
Like a core and sweat casting with Superman. That's like would be comparable.
Exactly. You could do something completely different. I'm fine with that. Or what DC's doing with the Elseworlds, like you do an X-Men, Fantastic Four, and at some point they do come together, just like they used to do in the TV shows that we used to watch. But at the end of the day, you just you can't be naive enough to say, you know what, from 2008 to 2050, we're gonna have only one franchise and only one Captain America, like one Steve Rogers, I should say. Like
different times.
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
Like
That's
Miles
just
Morales on the horizon here too. You know what I think also a discussion that people have been having since the passing of Chadwick Boseman, a variant of Black Panther gets introduced and now is firmly established in the MCU following Secret Wars. I think that's definitely a possibility as well. Because I think you can cast someone in the immediate, right, like for Secret Wars that can be a centerpiece of the MCU.
I think a blessing and a curse is the multiverse and variants where you could kind of like, yeah, you could do that. Great. You kind of replace people that, maybe unexpectedly died, unfortunately, or like, you know what, you made a mistake by getting rid of a character. You could bring them back through a variant. I don't know, like Steve Rogers. I'm just saying. But also just creates confusion and too many possibilities. And you know what? You start having coherent stories. And I think that really is going to drain on the quality of these projects as we go along. And I think we've already seen that in these multiverse projects. So it's a thin line you got to kind of walk across. And so far, they're not doing a good job. And we're only 4 years removed from Endgame.
And we need these variants to have more of a purpose when they appear, not just for a cameo for fanfare. Like we need them actually to be pieces of the universe rather than just saying, yes, this is nice to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield again, but can we give us a variant that we're going to be like a Loki with Sylvie? Are we going to see someone that is continuously making appearances project after project? Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree.